Hey all, here at OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at CZUR's Aura Mate Pro. This is their new smart document scanner table lamp, and we've seen the original CZUR Aura about a year and a half ago. It works pretty well. This new model upgrades in several areas and now has a higher resolution 16 megapixel camera. It also now has wireless scanning, so you can connect to it using a smartphone or a tablet running either iOS or Android, and you're able to save those scans directly on our phone instead of relying on the USB connection to your computer, which the older models only had, that wired option. This new model also has kind of an interesting feature in that it has a secondary camera pointing at you, so this can also replace your webcam if you are connecting it to a computer. You can actually use it for video chatting. So you can see yourself, and it works with Zoom, with Hangouts, with Microsoft Teams, so it's an interesting little secondary feature there now that we're all remote and kind of working at home for many folks. It still contains all the features that we saw from before, like the curve flattening, so it can automatically produce the best image when you're scanning a book. The software still has some AI and ML features that can automatically translate and turn the image into text if you want to, so lots of unique functions that's been carried over just like from before. Now the webcam for video conferencing also works in conjunction with the software that gives you alerts to correct your posture if you're, say, slouching down. So inside the packaging here we have the quick user manual, and in here it tells you how to set things up. It comes in 3 colors, by the way, pink, blue, and white, and we also have a quick CD-ROM. That's for the computer desktop app, works for both Windows and Mac OS. If you already have one of their previous document cameras, it will be the same software, and you can also find it on their website. Otherwise, down below here we have just the lamp scanner itself. We see things like the power adapter, including lots of different prongs for various countries. Ultimately looks like this, and we also have the foot pedal. So if you're unfamiliar with the past scanner that we checked out from them, what this does is as you're sitting down and then you just press on it every single time you want to scan a new image. So your hands can be occupied by turning the pages of a book. You don't have to press anything else. We also get this cloth, which you use to put onto the table surface when you are trying to scan something. The outline, which will be darkened, is easier for the camera software to pick up, and then it can detect the edges of your book, for example, and everything outside of it will get removed. Finally, we also get the USB cable if you want to connect it to your computer, and this one is using kind of a printer style. Last but certainly not least, we have, of course, the Aura Mate Pro lamp itself, and we have the white color here, which is a new color scheme. On the deck of the lamp, we'll find 2 touch-sensitive keys that you can use to scan something if you don't want to apply the foot pedal or use the software. There's also a video call mode that you can tap on to activate the secondary camera lens, and then there's also a dial here that you can tap once to turn it on, as well as rotate the dial to change the brightness when you're using it as a lamp. Now here on the back we see that the Aura Mate Pro does also have a small speaker, which is also new. On the bottom here we have the Type A port for the foot pedal, the USB for connecting to a computer, and the power input. It also has a soft touch rubber feet, of course, that prevents it from sliding around on a surface or desk. Now build quality is still super solid and quite premium. The frame here is actually made out of metal and aluminum, so it feels quite sturdy. We have some plastic accents that looks a little bit like glass, so if we open up the lamp a little bit further, we can see on the inside we have the other side of the speaker, the microphone for picking up your voice, and the display, which has now been shifted here. You can use this to see a preview of what you're scanning, and primarily to make it work when you're using it as a video conferencing display. However, I will say that for document scanning, maybe the original position is still the most natural, since if you're standing and looking down, you can see the screen a little bit more as you're scanning in pages versus in here. Unless you're scanning things sitting down, then this one here will still, again, be pretty comfortable. Here's what it looks like with the arm fully extended, and has a pretty conventional shape to many regular desk lamps that we've seen. Otherwise, when you close up the lamp, by the way, just like before, there's a slight gap on the top that you can use as a handle for picking up the entire thing and just taking it with you when you are moving it. The series of LED lights also are quite similar on both models, and so is the positioning of the main document scanning camera, albeit with a higher resolution now on the new one. So after being plugged into power, we see the display here has popped onto life. You can use the dial, as aforementioned, to turn on or off the light. Just like before, is quite good and sufficient even for reading if you're using it as a traditional desk lamp. Once again, we can twist the dial to change the brightness to make it brighter, or rotate it again to make it dimmer, so you can see it slightly fluctuate there. I do want to point out that the webcam part is not the same sensor as the document scanner, which is higher resolution. Again, that one is 16 megapixels, but this one here for video conferencing is around 2 megapixels or so, but still is capable of recording up to full HD video resolution. Finally, the device is using a ARM Cortex quad-core processor. Here is the different types of brightness levels that you can adjust it to, as well as the temperatures. So here on the CZUR companion app, we can tap on plus to find the document camera, the Aura Mate, and tapping on this once, we can select. Afterwards, I can tap on this camera here, allow it for location permissions when it's trying to search for the device to connect to. So basically, you're sharing your Wi-Fi password with the lamp to allow it to be connected to the internet. And then in the future, whenever you're scanning things, it can just be saved onto the cloud, for instance, which is pretty neat. So tap on the Wi-Fi button until the light here flashes. That's the button on the back of the unit here that we saw previously. What you'll want to do next is actually point this QR code at the camera near the webcam here for it to read this, and then it will be able to get the password info and then connect to the internet. A bit of a jump cut here. I tried connecting the Aura Mate to Wi-Fi using the companion app on your smartphone, trying both Android and iOS, but at the moment it doesn't seem to want to connect to the Wi-Fi information that you share with the document camera. So that perhaps is a limitation of this current kind of prototype that we're looking at right now, since this is still a pre-production sample, and right now, again, it's a project that you'll find on Indiegogo, so hopefully they can resolve that in the coming days with an update through the app or the firmware on the camera itself. Right now, every time you're able to scan the code successfully, as you can see there, however, after a few seconds, you'll always get the message that the camera was unable to connect to Wi-Fi successfully, and it'll just kind of stop at this screen. So fingers crossed it will be resolved soon. It really should be, as long as they have a real Wi-Fi chip in the hardware of the camera. Shouldn't really have too many issues here, but probably just needs an update. So what it means is, because we aren't able to connect right now to the app, we aren't able to show some of those additional features like changing the color temperature of the light, which is controllable only through the app, to make the light warmer and colder, for instance, some of those smart light features. And also the scanning using the app part, of course, you can't really activate. The other part, though, of course, that is working is the primary camera that's used for scanning in documents. You can still use it right now, even just by connecting it to your computer using the USB cable. And that part works exactly the same as other CZUR document cameras we've seen in the past. Since the primary document scanning part is the same as ever, I'll just play a clip that we used previously to give you an idea if you aren't familiar. So let's do a demo of a scan in real time. You're just going to put this book here in a slightly lopsided position as the software tries to figure out what the size of this book is. It's detected the edges very well, and now it's focused in. The contrast is also sharpened. Now saving the scan. So both in color and in black and white, which I tried out previously. And here's our beautiful scan. Everything cropped and just very aligned in terms of positioning. Nothing is off angle, and we have plenty of detail as well to zoom in and crop. And it's also processed our previous scans, actually dividing into two different images here, left and right, for the two sections of the book. You can see that everything outside of the border is completely black and dark, done through the software. So it's cutting off the edges really well, and there's also a virtual line that is where the center point of the two-paged book. And here's that book text that we just scanned. We can zoom in again, very, very clear. Exiting from the scan screen, the app also allows you to edit it even further. So you can select on an image that you've just scanned, and from here you're able to do things like crop, rotate, change the color, adjust things like ISO, and you can even add different effects. Finally, you can export it as a Word, Excel, or PDF. So if you export it as a Word file, and here we are. This is the converted file into a text format, which we can now copy, paste, and make quick edits if we need to. Anyways, the hardware at least is here, and it does present itself as always in a pretty elegant and attractive package. As always, I think this is one of the more clever solutions to document scanning that I've seen in the past few years that remains true even with this model here. It's compact, fits discreetly into your room, faster scanning when you are doing the process using the foot pedal, as well as the software tricks. So you can learn more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our hands-on first look. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the new CZUR Aura Mate.